All right, so today we'll be talking about adding different databases and modules into one place for a dashboard. And this probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense to add in finance data and sales opportunities data, but I wanted to show you the variety of things you could add into one place and then follow kind of a train of thought for one example on a sales team. So what I've done first is I've put the financial statements module demo or P&L examples up here. So for this one, it's the gross profit year to date. And then we have operating expenses next to it, just to show you what you could have it look like. Again, it might not make sense to put all these things together, but the functionality would be the same no matter what you'd like to add into one place. So something that's kind of nice sometimes is if you do want to present financial data, but you don't necessarily want to give everyone a login, or if you don't want to have to email people everything, or you want to have it in different charts, you can put it into a dashboard, and it's really easy to do that. So we'll cover how to do all of this on the call today, but I first want to show you how it works. And then below that, we've taken the sales, the invoice sales. So what sales you've already done for year to date based on or comparing to the sales budget. Same thing here in this widget, but I've only targeted any salesperson who is below their budget or below their target for the year. And then from there, I've added in customers and products from the sales side. And then below that is the inventory on hand. And then also same thing, but by product class. And the thought here is going to be how we find opportunities and get these numbers to be higher, closer to their goals. And I have to use two different dashboards. So I'm going to use this one, which is our Eclipse data demo site. And then this is just my normal Phocas one because I have half in one and half in the other. So for this one, my example here would be to look at the sales reps, and the budget data in here is a little funky because it's really high. But just to give you an example, if I were to look at Gail, for example, and I can see Gail's under budget, I'm going to try to find opportunities. I could highlight the sales rep and click Phocas. And then down here, I can see now all of that one sales rep's customers, and then everything that they've purchased and maybe some opportunities. So there's a few steps to it, but from here, I can then see, okay, for all of Gail's customers here, if I look at the variance, I want to target any of the customers on this list who have a variance that's less than 0. I'm just going to click on this variance button here to sort them. And then we can start diving in. So I can see that last year, this customer bought a lot. They haven't bought a lot this year in comparison. So I can highlight that customer, click Phocas. And then this is going to show all the products that customer purchased. So on this widget, I can see that they bought a bunch of these different things. It's a little clunky right now because I don't have it set up exact, but this is the thought process. Because then you can highlight all the products that they've purchased or that they purchased a lot of last year, click Phocas, and then you can also compare it right here now to your on-hand inventory. So it's a few steps, but it makes it a little bit easier for that sales rep to be able to look at data and then present that to the customer instead of just going to the customer and saying, looks like you haven't bought a lot this year. They can say, hey, I noticed that last year you purchased these products. Did you know that we have those in stock right now? I can bring them over if you'd like, so that you're prepared with data before you even have that conversation. Lots of different ways to use, of course, a dashboard to bring in different databases and modules, but this is just one example. So on the top here, same thing, operating expenses, and then this is actually, I was editing this right before we started. So I was going to put the full P&L here. So to get started, I'm going to go to my financial statements. And if you don't have financial statements yet, this is still pretty cool to see, but we won't be doing the financial statements the whole time. So we'll go to whatever statement we want to start with. For me, I made one called P&L. I'm going to go there. And then I want to add those cards to my dashboard. So it's pretty easy. All you have to do is highlight the one that you want to put on there. So I'm going to highlight my operating expenses and then click on the chart button. And I also wanted to show you that for my P&L, as opposed to this P&L, the operating expenses here have a negative, and that's probably to be expected, but I changed all of mine to say reverse sign because I'm not a finance person. So I wanted to see all of my income a certain way and my expenses a certain way. So this probably should be negative, but anyway, so you can change those when you make your P&L. So if I highlight operating expenses, I can then go to the chart and I can choose this value card here. And then you can choose your conditional formatting as well. So if I wanted to see the previous operating expenses was a lot higher. This year's a lot lower, so that's a good thing. So I would say lower is better. I can choose lower is better, or higher is better. And then you just add it right to your dashboard. So that's how you can add the value cards. It's pretty simple. Same thing with the income. I'm going to highlight that, go to chart, and then choose your conditional formatting, and then just add it right to your dashboard. So that's how you get these. It used to be a little trickier than that. They've made some improvements. It used to be that you had to do a right click and it was totally different from the chart, but it's a lot easier now. If you did want to do it that way, but you only wanted each manager to see their own branches or however you would like to do it, those permissions can be set on the admin side, of course, as always, where they can only see their branch, or you can even separate them out if you wanted to with that matrix option. And you could put this into your dashboard as well, where it separates out each branch. All right, and then going to the next one down. So the sales versus budget. So if you don't have a budget stream or the budgeting module, of course, you have to have one of those in order to have the budget in there. But I will show you, this is where I'm going to go back to Clips data. I'm going to go to the sales database. So this also, again, if you don't have the budget stream, if you have a different stream, you can still do something very similar to this by using stream mode, depending on what streams you have. So I'm going to click on my sales rep dimension, and then I'm going to go to mode and click on stream. I want my first one to be sales invoices, and then my variant stream, I want to be 2023 sales rep. There's a few demos in here. And I do want to show you real quick too, you can have as many as you'd like for your variant streams. You can choose as many as you want. So depending on what you have available, you could put open sales and inventory next to it. If you wanted to see something like excess stock or a replenishment widget, you can put those in there as well. And I can show you how to do that too. So using stream mode, we can put invoices and budget side by side. And then the delta is over here. So from here, you just easily add it to your dashboard. I just went to the old way where there's a star here. So if you're on old navigation, you click on the star. New navigation, it's all the way over here now. And we add it to the dashboard from there. So I would just add it to my Phocas one. I already have it set, so I won't add it. So that is how you get those two side by side. If you want to turn this into a chart, all you have to do is click on the chart button. And you have a few different options. I'm just going to go to summary so I can show you what this would look like with a line chart. It's pretty wild because our budgets are really high in this demo site, but it'd look a little bit more normal, of course, for actual data, but it'd look a little bit more like that. All right. And the below budget one. So what I did on this one is that trick that we talked about last week or a couple of weeks ago, where we have all of these things together. And this, so again, this budget is crazy. So it's going to show me all of these numbers are going to be in the red because the budget's so high. But if I were to go back to my demo site, so this is my invoice versus budget and then the difference. So what I can do in this column instead is I can right click and say, show me anything that is less than 0. So that we can see what their budget is, what their invoice sales are, and then the difference as a number and a percentage. And so this will automatically update since I've done the right click to show me the less than. If all of a sudden Kathleen sells a bunch, she goes past her goal, she will fall off of this list automatically. You don't have to recreate it. All right. And then on a dashboard, so I get this question a lot with people who haven't been using dashboards very often. It's like they ask me, how do we link everything so that it all changes together? So if we were to click on Kathleen and hit focus, you'll notice all of these things change, even though they might not be in the same database. And that is because we have a common dimension that we're using. So if I open this one up, we're in the purchasing, sales, and stock database. So I have this sales rep dimension here. If I also have the sales rep dimension in another database, then those two, as long as it's the same name or it's pulled in the same way, it's going to link together automatically. So there's nothing else that you have to do as long as you have something that's a common dimension here. So that's why at the beginning, it's a little bit tricky to have to kind of go through the steps of that flow of first we select the sales rep, and then now only her customers are showing up. But now I need to see what that customer has purchased. So then we can just focus on one customer and their products. And then we can keep going through the on hand and so on. If you have the purchasing, sales, and stock all together in one database, a procurement database, then everything's already there for you. So you don't have to do a lot of that flow. It's already there. But going back to if you don't have it all together and you have it in separate widgets, I have my on-hand inventory pulling from the inventory database and my sales rep pulling from the sales database. So if I go back here, sorry for all the jumping around, but I have this one that makes more sense to me. That links together a little bit better. So let's see. The customers one again is pulling from our sales database. And then the products that we have on hand are pulling from the inventory database. So that's why they're not automatically moving. So see how these two focus together, because this products dimension and products widget is pulling from the sales database. So I hope that makes sense. It sounds really confusing even as I'm saying it, but we've focused on the customer. And now these are all the products that they have purchased year to date, current and previous. And that's where we can go in then and say, okay, look at all the previously purchased things. And then you can highlight which ones you want to look at and click focus. And then because there's a product dimension in sales and a product dimension in inventory, then we can link those two together. They'll automatically change to see which ones are on hand that you can reach out to them about. So a little bit more clunky that way, but it does function the same and it still will save you a lot of time. So this is a good way, dashboard's a good way to bring in data from all different databases and link them together so that you can have a lot of things in one place, not a lot of back and forth with this. So the question that came up earlier today that I was talking about at the beginning, I think they're still here on this webinar with us, is how do we see our top 15 customers and the byline, but we want the customers on the top, across the top, and the byline going down the side. So this is a two-part answer here, so bear with me. I'm going to go into the Eclipse demo site to show you this. And it'll function the same for other things, but since you're on Eclipse, I'm going to show you this. So two parts here. So there's something in a dashboard widget called a top 15 or a bottom 15 or however many you want to do. So in order to get that functionality, you have to have it in a widget, because if you do it in the database alone, it's not going to work. And what I mean by that is if we're to look at our bill to customers and we select the top 15. So when you select a dimension, it automatically puts them in order of the top whatever. So top 15, if we were to select these for our top 15 customers year to date and click Phocas, this is going to save this list. It will automatically update these numbers. But if number 15 tomorrow actually becomes number 16 and someone else moves up in their place, it's not going to replace them because you've focused on these 15. So I hope that makes sense. So instead, what we do is we make it a widget by going to the widget button, query. And then we're just going to call it top 15. In order to get that functionality, see, it's not here yet, you have to click on a dimension. So I'm going to click on the build to. I'm going to keep it year to date. And then limit rows is what you want to use for that. So I'm going to say top. I'm going to change this to say 15. And now you have your top 15. So this is the way to do that if you want a top 15 or however many customers or bottom, whatever. So this will automatically change. If this customer falls off tomorrow, it will automatically do that for you because we're not filtered on just those bill to customers. So now the second piece of this, I'm going to change this to total mode real quick. The second piece is how do we get this list to be up here on the top and byline on the left-hand side? So highlight everything and click this matrix button. Now you have them on the top here, but also on the left-hand side. So the next step is click on byline. So byline is down here on the left-hand side. And then the bill to customers up on the top. And the part that I don't know the answer to is, I think it's going to work, but when we matrix this, is it going to mess up our limit rows now? Is it going to take the top 15 byline instead? And I'm not sure because I've never had this question come up before. So I'm going to get back to you on it. I'm going to take note of what this is showing and see if anything changes on Monday. So, or if you figure out this answer for me, if anyone else tries this, then please let me know because I'm curious. We've never done it before. For some reason, I don't think it's going to work the way I want it to because it's going to limit the row, which is now this and not the columns. So if it doesn't work, I think that's a really good question to ask our dev team. So I'll save this and we'll come back to that. I'll take a screenshot of what it looks like right now. And then I'll do another one side by side with just the top 15 customers without matrixing. We're going to do it this way. So we'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to work the way we want it to, but I'm hopeful still. Okay. So one more thing I wanted to go over in this one is that I usually I have a KPI dashboard that I love to share because I think it's so helpful. And I'll go through a couple of those widgets before we leave time for questions. So this is my KPI dashboard, sales, profit, the variance. I really like charts. So I especially like the variance chart when you can put the different colors in. This is really helpful, I think, as a quick view. And then, of course, you can dive in to see more of the details. This is my top customers and top items. So these are the ones that are automatically refreshing every night. Turns, replenishment, and excess stock. So the turns widget, I'm going to go and analyze this so I can show you this one. So this one can be done in custom mode. So if you select your product dimension and go into custom mode, you can just do an easy calculation if this is how you calculate your turns. I know everyone's turns are just a little bit different, but this is the way you do it. So I called it turns. So starting brand new, you would click on the plus button and do calculation and name it whatever you'd like, but mine's called turns. It's not going to let me because I already have it named that. So I'll call it turns 1. The expression is going to be A divided by B. And then you have to then tell Phocas what A is and what B is. So in order to do that, you press plus, measure, plus, measure. A is going to be my invoice cost for rolling 12 months. And then B is my stock snapshot value for current month. So if you have inventory, current on-hand inventory and sales in one database together, then you're able to do this. If you don't, let me know and I can help you get that. And then the invoice value and then the cost of goods sold as 2 other measures that I have side by side here. So it's a fairly easy calculation in custom mode as long as you have the ingredients. For the replenishment one, this one takes a little bit more ingredients. So for these ones, I wanted to see by product what I need to buy. So what I did is I put my sales orders, and this is all by quantity. So any open sales, and then next column is the purchase orders. So anything on order and then anything on hand. So I made those 3 columns first, the same way I did the last one, which was in custom mode. So by product, I wanted to see open sales orders, open POs, and then on-hand inventory. So I just had all of those as columns, and then I went in and made these 2 columns 0 by doing the right click equals 0 and right click equals 0 here. And then this was anything over 0. So now what it's telling me is that I have these sales orders for these products, but I don't have any that are coming in and I don't have any that are on hand. So that's my replenishment one. For excess stock, I did exactly the same setup, but I did the open sales as 0. So there's nothing on order, but we have a ton of them on hand and then a ton of them on purchase order as well.